we ferry these up to the allotment, I will show you what we got up to yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning started with quite a bit of bed prep because I'm still shunting these little piles of soil around that I deposited on all the beds when I was clearing out the polytunnel. I thought, oh, I'll just stick one there, and it'll be fine. But actually, I've now just found myself constantly shuffling soil around. Anyway, the main objective this morning is to clear one of the beds. And I've got, due to lack of planning, I've got some radicchio growing right in the middle of the bed. So radicchio is one of those crops that you can grow one year, you cut it down, and then the next year it will regrow like a whole load of different heads from the same stump. So last year I planted them in the end of one of the beds that has the dahlias in the end, because that's all stuff which is going to stay for you more than 1 year. But actually our dahlia strategy has completely changed, and now the radicchio are in the wrong spot. And I don't really want to just get rid, because I know I'll get a good number of heads off these in like only a month's time or so. So I'm going to move them across to a bed where I've already got stuff which is going to be growing until at least midsummer. This is leeks, and there is some peppermint chard in the other end of this bed. So if I just plonk these in here, I'm trying to take as much soil with them as possible, and hopefully they won't even know they've been moved. You can see this one's got 3 heads, this one's got like 5 heads on it, and that's where I cut out the single head from last year, and they're just growing away happily. They won't get as big as last year's head, but still perfectly decent radicchio. So I'm reluctant to get rid. Anyway, this is their new home. So as I said, there are also dahlias and a couple of tulips in the end of this bed that we don't really want there. Up until last year, we had a dedicated one of these raised beds to dahlias, but when we had the really cold winter, we lost loads of them, so we needed to dig them all up and see which ones were still viable. Anyway, the viable ones we didn't know what to do with, so we temporarily put them on the ends of the beds. Anyway, they're now all in the wrong place as per usual, so they're all coming out, and we've got a new strategy for them. Got 3 more potato varieties, first earlies, to put in. These are the ones that have been chitting at home, and we have got, I can't read it that way, it's backwards. We've got Aaron Pilot, Home Guard and Swift. These are the ones that we picked up from Chapman's in our first wave of potato buying frenzy. They have had the mealy bugs, but I've dusted the majority of them off, so they're looking pretty clear and they should be okay. Why are you hiding behind the door? Mum's just peering out behind the shed door, like. She's interested in what we're doing with the potatoes. Yeah, so we were obviously going to just do the one bed, which was the 2 that we had the most of, which was the Caledonian Pearl and the White Duke of York. But we are looking at the pots and the amount of compost it means dragging up here, and the amount of compost that we're going to need to fill the polytunnel bed, and it's all getting a bit on top of us. And we happen to have that bed that only had those few radicchio in it, which I've now stuck in another bed. They should transplant absolutely fine, but I've got some more coming if they don't. And the dahlias were moving out of that bed anyway, because we've got a bit of a new strategy, a new plan for them. By new, I mean very new. We just devised it this morning. We're chatting as we're walking around. But we decided that actually, just in a purely like practical sense, it's just we can't buy that much compost to fill up those big tubs. We can't make enough compost to be doing things like that either. So we just decided we're going to put 1 more bed over there, all first earlies, which means they should only be in the ground 3 months, 12 weeks. And so when they finish should be about the time, like July time, when we'll have another wave of bits and pieces, and then we'll be able to get things in like chimney wrapper and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've got a plan. Whether or not it actually works out or not is another thing, but we have a plan. So yeah, I'm going to go and put these potatoes in the bed I've just cleared. Next up, there are some field bean tops in one of the beds, which is going to be cleared in a minute, but they have got lunch written all over them. So we grow these field beans as a green manure. They're very closely related to broad beans, but they're just not grown for their pods. So their pods are really, really small and don't really do very much. But their top foliage is the same as broad beans, which is absolutely delicious. So these really fresh, lovely, lush bits on the top, which taste really very similar to pea shoots. Absolutely delicious. And this bed is about to be cleared, so I'm going to take a whole load of these and take them home with us today. Yum. You can do exactly the same with broad beans. You can take their tops too, and it's quite good early on in their life because it means that they bush out a lot and then you get more broad beans. But these ones we're only growing for green manure and they're about to be chopped down, so may as well take what we can from them now. There is not much out there more satisfying than a freshly mulched bed, is there? It's like peak. I mean, if you've strimmed around it and everything as well and weeded it, it's just, I mean, it's absolute peak. Anyway, this was a bit of a brief trip up here this morning. I've got to go out this afternoon. Sorry about that. Oh, a bit windy. We've actually got a storm that's supposedly blowing in this way, but I didn't think it was meant to hit for a couple of days. Storm Kathleen, which is going to bring with it high winds. But it seems to be high winding currently. Anyway, what I was trying to say was we didn't actually come up for very long today. I've got to go out this afternoon, so we're calling it a day. And those field bean tops are just singing out to become a risotto. But we'll be back up here tomorrow, so I'll see you up here tomorrow. Hopefully it's not too windy because that makes things very tricky with the old like filming microphone hair thing. Good morning, chaps, action-packed. And we have quite an ambitious plan for how much we can get done today. Basically, I need to move the brassica cage off the bed that the brassica cage is on, up to the one next to the fruit cage. But the brassica cage has been built specifically for our standard bed size, and that is the only bed on the plot that I haven't remade in the last couple of years. So it's still of the original size. Too big. So I'm going to have to replace that bed, which is what we bought the decking boards for. So remake that bed, sort all of the soil out in that because it's a really super deep one, then move the brassica cage over. But let's start with the brassica cage and see how far we get. Oh man. 2. Just 2. And I need 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can add them in. So the raised beds that we have on the plot at the moment were the cheapest and easiest ones that I could make as the old ones sort of started rotting and needing to be replaced. It's just 3 decking boards per bed, one of them cut in half to make the 2 ends, which leaves us with a finished bed of 1 metre 20 by 2 metres 40, which is absolutely fine. Slightly smaller than what the old beds were, as you'll see when I'm replacing the one at the top. But this was the cheapest method by such a long way. Since the price of wood has gone up, you can still pick up decking boards relatively cheaply. For each corner to hold them together, I use a flat angle plate, top and bottom like this. So simple, so one on the bottom, one on the top. Super easy and not expensive. Unfortunately, I thought I had a whole unused packet of them, but they were actually these small ones. So I've got these ones and some flat ones. I'm going to make sure the bottom is totally secure, and then I'll use these little L plates on the top. I think they should be fine, but if I've got them on the top and they turn out to not be so great, I can always replace them. The ones on the bottom, I can't replace. So I'll make sure the bottom is more secure. And that's it, simple as possible. And actually, whenever I'm making either a bed or doing a cold frame or something like that, I feel like I'm justified in having this patch of grass with my swing seat in it and everything, because as you're sort of slowly chipping away at the open space on the allotment, like I did last time, you suddenly realise you've got nowhere to make anything. So there is a valid reason for having a barbecue area. These are totally fine to make on your own. The only time you really need a bit of help is to flip them over to put them on the other side, because if you don't hold both ends, they can bend the plates. But once you've got a bit of metal on both sides, they are easy as pie to kind of cart around and shift around the allotment on your own. Don't need anybody else. It's marvellous. So just put the last of these plates in, and then I will take them up. I'm going to have to do a lot of soil jimmying to get this to fit on the bed, because the other bed is considerably larger. Okay, so this is the bed that we're replacing. As you can see, it's the old scaffold boards, which are 9 foot long instead of 8 foot long, like the ones that I've replaced. So we've made the bed, that's going to go on here. It gets a bit logistics here, because to move this bed, we have to take away a chunk of soil at the end here, obviously the foot that's extra. We've got some bits and pieces in here, like some Verbena bonariensis and stuff, which we want to save. So we've got to take that out. Then we've got to get the arch out, because it's in the end of the bed. So this arch needs to come out, and that is going 2 beds down, where you can see those green pots. Where the arch is going is where we've got 2 dahlias that need moving. Now the dahlias are all going to go in a long strip dahlia bed, dedicated dahlia bed, down this whole side of the plot. But we can't do that until we've got the cage moved, this bed made. So it's kind of like logistics going round in circles. But first thing, we're going to move what's in the end of this bed. We're going to temporarily put the dahlias in pots like the other 2 we took out of the bed up there. Put them into holding just temporarily. Move the arches, replace this bed, move the brassica cage, Boom. Okay. First thing. What was the first thing? Moving the dahlias. Woohoo! All clear. Right, now to dismantle the old bed and plonk the new one on. Fab, bed in and level. All of this wood, which is what made up the old bed, we've got a little bit of a sort of a rotten wood pile behind the pond where lots of things are living and hibernating and eating the rotten wood. So all of this is just going to get mashed up and put behind the pond for things to enjoy. Isn't it, girlies? Yeah, I know, there's all sorts of things behind there, all grubs and all sorts. You'd love it. It'd be a massacre. It would, an absolute massacre. Right, this is the cage that we are moving. It is just screwed in at the base. It should be easy enough to move. This will be the second time I've moved it, so I am optimistic. We just got to carry it up there without breaking it. We can't go under the arches, so we're going to have to go all the way around the outside with it. Little bit of clearance to do before we try and move the cage though. We've got the Calyrettes and the Cavalier Nero in here. There's still plenty to eat on both of them, but I think it's worth just taking them out and stripping them back, because once we take the cage off, the pigeons are going to get them anyway, so we'll have nothing. So we just cut these straight off at the base and strip off anything that's good and edible on them. This one's going to the girlies, yeah. So yeah, executive decision has been made. We were going to try and lift this off the top of these and leave them, but actually like everything's gone. The Calyrettes are blowing, so we just strip them and use them. And we've just got this one Calette plant which is covered in aphids, so we're just going to take it off and hang it in the girlies' house for a bit of a treat. It's funny how the aphids just went for one plant this year. They did exactly the same to the what was the other thing we had over there? The little purple sprouting broccoli over there. They did the same. They just went for one plant, which, I mean, is pretty good if they want to play it that way. And cage move time. Are you ready? I'm not sure I am. I'm super happy. It's quite windy, so I hope I've secured it well. I mean, it's pretty solid, to be fair. Oh, that wind. Storm Kathleen, you can really feel it just in the air. Like 1 minute it's dead still, the next minute right. There are 2 more arches that are still along this sidewall, and while we're in action mode, I think we may as well just shunt them over as well. But first off, I'm absolutely starving. So it is going to be minestra and noodles for lunch. I'm sure we've still got some noodles in the cupboard here. This minestra, now I know I've gone on about it, but I'm not kidding. It's keep on giving. What have we got? 6 plants in here. They're not huge. They're not massive like some purple sprouting broccoli gets, you know, when it's like 1.20 meters. This is what, 2 foot tall? And the amount of sprouts we've got off it, it's incredible. And they're probably the best tasting sprouts I've ever had. They're wonderful. I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, obviously, I've spoken about these arches before, and they are those super cheap £10 ones. So, yeah, they are not strong arches. However, we've had them going for like 5 years or so, particularly the set that was right here. Was there one on here? No, it was here that we dismantled just, you know, what was it, yesterday? All the days are blowing into one. But the one that we dismantled that was there, that one had gone, but that one had been the one we'd had longest, like 5 years, 6 years maybe. Anyway, had it a long time. And if you use them just as a single arch on its own in the ground, they are super flimsy and actually can be quite detrimental to the situation, because once you grow something like a runner bean up them, which is just this tumbling mass of foliage and it catches the wind, clunk, the whole lot's gone, which can be really heartbreaking when you haven't picked your beans yet. But we got around that by using them more as like a shape than a structure. So we've put them in, and then obviously this one is just completely loose at the moment, but here you can see we've tied in with bamboo canes. We've got the old polytunnel posts going down into the ground, which provides extra support, and everything's tied to those. And so what you end up with is a really good structure that you can then bamboo cane across, which gives you the strength. That sounds a bit motivational speech, doesn't it? But yeah, I'm really happy with them. And I know they're the £10 arches, and a lot of people have some bad things to say about £10 arches, but I love them. I love them. If you go and try and buy like not a cast iron, but you know, like a proper steel arch or something, they're in the hundreds of pounds. I don't have hundreds of pounds to spend on my lovely little bean tunnel. So I did actually make a video about why I grow my beans up arches. I'll put the link in the description, and also I'll tag it to the end. I keep forgetting you can do that. You can actually just like put a video at the end of this video, and I'll put it on there because this has changed my bean growing experience, being able to grow over arches for picking especially. And now we've got a run of 4 of them down the centre of the plot, which I think is rather lovely. Frustrating technology moment, chaps. We are running out of battery. Not only battery on the phone, but battery on the microphone, battery on the backup charger. We've been up here all day. We've been up here for about 6-7 hours now, I think. And to be honest, it's such a nice temperature up here and we're getting so much done. I'm feeling really like I don't want to go home just because I've run out of battery. So I think what's going to happen is I'll film a few little bits because I just want to crack on. I love it when we start changing things around on the allotment, like moving the arches, moving the cage. It's really exciting. So I'm just going to carry on and I'll come back tomorrow fully charged and do you a summary of what we get up to in the next. I mean, we've only got like, what, another hour and a half maximum, but I'll tell you what we've got up to tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Right, Storm Kathleen is upon us. Interestingly enough, she hasn't brought any rain. What she's brought is just wind. So it's really still like it is just at this second, and then we'll get another blast. So I apologise if the audio is pants, but I'm going to show you what we got up to last night. Well, yesterday evening. Last night's a bit of an exaggeration. We weren't here that long. Yesterday evening. We made excellent progress on the new dahlia bed, which is this strip at the back here. I don't know if you remember what we had here before was these little tiny beds on the end of each of the beds, which is where the archer's feet went into. But this is a real problem strip across here in terms of like keeping the weeds out, because obviously the other side of this fence is bindweed, couch grass, all sorts of things that we don't really want. So this is a bit of a no man's land here. So we're going to clear the whole strip back a bit like this end. Mum's already started in there doing a great job. We've got a couple of chard in there and things, but the skimmy is going to stay, but everything else in here is going to be cleared and it's just going to be dahlias. So that dahlia bed, by my calculations, I reckon I can fit between 16 and 18 dahlias in there. I don't think we need 18 dahlias. So we're going to go with 16. We've got 3 ready to plant in there. The ones that I've recently just whipped out of the beds. One of them is a very tall orange one, which I don't know the name of. We've got a happy single, which is just gorgeous, which was a present from Johanna. I've also got a tangerine single, which is beautiful. And obviously not last year, but the year before when we had that really cold snap, we lost a lot of the dahlias because we didn't even realise it was going to get that cold. Like if we had, we would have at least tried to have protected the dahlias, but it came completely as a surprise. We never get that cold. I don't remember -8 ever. Not just like, I don't remember it off the top of my head. Ever in my life do I remember it getting that cold here. So I'm not expecting it to happen again. At least we'll know to keep our eyes open from now on, that if it is going to get cold, the dahlias are going to go. We've got the added advantage here though, that because we don't have clay soils or like damp soil, they can put up with a bit more cold than they can in other places, because we're just growing in sand basically. There's not a lot of moisture in there, so they don't, you know, but still -8 is a no-no anyway. So I've got those 3 to go in. Very exciting. We've got a couple more that are sort of dotted around, but they're already quite established and I don't think it's worth moving them. And last time we were at that garden centre out near, where is it, Staines? Can't remember, what used to be called Adrian Hall. I actually picked up 3 new dahlias, and one of them, Bishop of Dover, gorgeous. I love the Bishop series anyway. Like Bishop's Children is the one that you can get, you know, the seed for. They've all got really dark foliage, dark stems, but look at that, isn't that beautiful? I also picked up this one, which is a pink pom-pom type called Salz von Berlin. We had a pom-pom, a small pom-pom like this that was like a pale lilac colour that I believe was called Kafka. Could be wrong. I'll look it up when I get home. But unfortunately that was one of the frost gotten ones and I couldn't find it again, so I got this one, which I thought was pretty jolly. And then Chat Noir. So we've got Black Cat, which was in honour of Annie, but obviously it's now joint honour because we've got Hayley as well. So Black Cats all around. 3 more to go in. What does that make it? We've got 1, 2, we've got 6. That means, chaps, potential for another 10 dahlias. So this time is, what is your favourite dahlia? Now, I'm after the dahlias really purely for a cut flower. So no dwarf ones, as I, you know, that dwarf one that I had to dig out and stick in the bed next to the pond. Oh, that's the shape of the bed, by the way, with my head. The one that we stuck next to the pond, so that's a dwarf. I don't want dwarf ones. I want them all to be like a reasonable height. And also like the dinner plate ones, like Cafe au Lait, which is stunning, but not that great as cut flower. Or I've not found it to be that great as cut flower because the heads are too heavy. So I like the mid-range, mid-size, whole variety of colours and shapes. Hit me with your favourite varieties. Now, the other major thing that I did yesterday that I'm really pleased about was work along the actual fence. So now we've cleared those arches off that side of the plot. It just made it even more obvious what a terrible state our fence was in along that side. And so I've straightened it all up. I'm hoping I took a little bit of a clip while I was doing that to show you what a state it was in beforehand. But I can show you what it looks like now. Still pretty ramshackle, but it is straight and it's upright, which is a vast improvement on how it was before, particularly from this section down. I used some old bits of the dilapidated polytunnel to straighten up the fence where it's just been blown down. Also, Lily likes to jump on here, so she just adds to the woes. But managed to get it all straightened up. I will eventually need to put some proper posts in here, but I mean, it looks 100 times better. I also attached this bit of trellis that was kind of hidden behind the swing. However, on second thoughts this morning, I don't think this is a good idea. We've actually lost sweet peas along this edge before because when our neighbour does come and do something, like he gets enthusiastic, you know, and he comes up and does stuff. But he's actually used weed killer along this edge and killed all of our sweet peas in previous years, which not so great. Well, not so great using the weed killer anyway, and you're not even allowed to do that. So anyway, the other point that I don't want to grow them up this side is that the sun comes from, or wind, can you hear me? Is that the sun comes from that way. So all the flowers will be pointing away from our allotment, which we also don't want. Can you hear me? I hope so. Chickens hate a lot of things, but one of the things they really hate is wind. Or at least our chickens really hate the wind. Don't you, girlies? Most annoying, having your feathers blown everywhere. That's better. I'll just hide out in here for a second and tell you the only other exciting thing to say this week is that we're going to pick the first asparagus. Oh, yes. So we're going to go and venture out into the wind, pick the asparagus. We've got some minestra to pick as well. I'm loving that stuff. I am absolutely loving it. We actually had today, we had for lunch, I made some chicken pies yesterday and had a bit of filling left over. So we had like rigatoni with like chicken and leek pie filling. And then a whole load, like a pile of, in fact, if I stand to one side of the screen, I can shove it up there. A pile of like crispy fried minestra with, you know, like when the garlic goes really nice and brown and chewy, just plonked on the top. Oh, that was delicious. But yeah, so I'm going to go and do some picking and then I will see you at home for a glass of wine out of the wind. Hey Lil, it's blooming windy, isn't it? Blooming windy, that Lil. Hey, blooming windy. Yeah, it is so windy, so windy. Beautiful girl. Cheers, chaps. This week has been so busy, it's just gone past in a complete blur. So last week, quite a lot of people in the comments pointed out to me that actually my last vlog was my 4-year anniversary on here, which I did no reflection, nothing, and I haven't even this week because I've only just realised, so that's going to be next week. But we're 2 weeks behind, but it's all right. The date that I've put my first one out, I think, was the 14th of April. Obviously, every time you do it a week, it's a week back, so it kind of clocks backwards, but yeah. So we're going to do that next week. Next week is going to be the 4-year anniversary. Also, there's some big stuff happening next week. I really feel like we're cracking on with the big stuff. So obviously the greenhouse and the polytunnel are the 2 major ones. The greenhouse, we have got the floor, it is ready to go in. That's going to be the first job this coming week. I can't wait till that's in. It's another one of those ones which requires lots of other things to happen. I need to clean that glass. So when we're like in the middle of summer, we mist in there, but we mist with the hose and we've got really, really hard water. And so there's a lot of lime scale on the inside of the glass. So we're going to clean all of that out, get the new floor in. Oh, it's exciting. And then once that's done, really the only job left is to get that polytunnel sorted. So yeah, it is all go. Not only did I forget that it was my 4-year anniversary last week, but we did an Easter egg hunt in last week's video, but you're going to have an extra week to get your answers in because I haven't even had a chance this week to go through who got the answers correct. So next week we will do who won the Easter egg hunt. I promise that's going to be in the next one. It's just floated away from me. I was ill at the beginning of the week, so that took a bit of time out of the week, but yeah, it's just been a mad one. Absolutely mad. Anyway, Storm Kathleen seems to have passed us by now. So yeah, it's a big cheers. There is so much to sow in April. There is so much to do in April, and just having those 2 days up there this week where we really got stuck into doing stuff, it's just, oh, it's such a good feeling. It is such a good feeling. So next week, chaps, next week, more action, more sewing, more getting stuff in, more probably moving dahlias. I'm so excited about the dahlia bed. How nice is that going to look? 16 dahlias. I tell you what hasn't appeared much in this video, or in fact, I believe at all in this video, is Hallie. I would go and grab her. She's been sat next to me while I was editing the video earlier, but she's downstairs having a kip now, so I don't really want to disturb her. I promise she'll be in the next one. I feel like it's a bit of a whirlwind, chaps. Anyway, I'm going to go and drink this wine, and I'm going to have my dinner and relax. So yeah, cheers, chaps. Cheers to my Patreons, who are the people who... See you on Discord.